Alrighty. So this morning we're going to kind of jump right into our call. So if you, whoa, hold on. I just got super distracted. One second. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get right into our topic with Shelby. So I want to make sure that we give her as much time as she needs. So Shelby, oh, someone trying to say something. Can you hear me? All right, make sure that if you're hopping on, you're putting yourself off mute. Sorry, I got like super distracted. There we go. Okay, so this morning we're going to hear from Shelby Maupin, and she's going to share a little bit about herself, but I know that Shelby has just gone into 1-star qualification. I think I heard from a little birdie that there might be another qualification coming this Thursday, which is so insane, so exciting. Shelby just seems to like be that coach that like it just does the things, like keeps it so simple. When I was talking to her, I was like, so like what's your superpower? Like what makes it like why are you seeing so much success right now? And not just her and her business, but like her team. So it's like there's one thing that I find a lot of coaches like they can help people and they can inspire others and they've got that figured out, but teaching other people how to do that is kind of where the holdup comes. And she's like, I just keep it really simple. And I was like, okay, well then you need to share with us how you keep it so simple and how your coaches that are coming on are jumping on and they're they're helping people right away. And so she's like, okay, yeah, I can totally do that. So I'm super excited. Shelby is like, she just comes across as like the most like chill, like just down to earth, like we're just here to hang. And I love that about her. I think she has that like, not necessarily the girl next door, but just kind of like, let's just do the things. Like, let's not overcomplicate this. Like, this is a really simple business. Let's do it. And I could not agree with that more. I always sit down and think, how is this what I get paid to do? Like, it's so insane to me. And when you have that mindset, things just shift. When your mind is saying, this is so complicated, oh, this is so hard, oh my gosh, then it's going to become really hard. But when you go in it with like, this is a blessing that we get to do this. This is crazy how simple these actions are. If I just do them over time, they will produce. But you got to do them and you got to show up. And I think Shelby is like such an example of someone who just doesn't overcomplicate it, doesn't make it crazy complicated, and just does the things. And it's showing in her and her team. So with that, Shelby, why don't you go ahead? I'm going to put myself on mute. Make sure you guys have something to write notes, a pen, something like that. And you can go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you. Excuse my like raspy morning voice, but it is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen because I have squirrel brain if I don't like use slides. So okay, so yeah, kind of like Megan said, whenever we were talking, I honestly kind of had to like think about also like how I do kind of keep it simple because I'm not like super organized necessarily in a sense of how I like bring on new coaches and like mentor coaches, other than I have like an initial like welcome email and stuff and like introducing to the team and like that kind of thing. And we have a new coach mentorship, but as far as like how I keep it simple for me, back in like December-ish is when I actually was like, okay, I kept saying like I wanted to do this business full time like by this coming December of 2020, and I'm not necessarily doing the things, like I'm not making enough right now for that to happen. And I know that if it's a full-time income like with this business has to grow and like there has to be time, but I was like, all right, I gotta kick my booty in gear pretty much. And so I kind of took a step back and was like, all right, what do I need to do in order for that? And then in order for that to happen, and just these simple, small steps. And like some of the things were going to be like okay, yeah, duh, like that's the foundation of our business. But focusing on hitting Success Club, last year I didn't hit it consistently. I did not really make it a priority. I was not inviting as much as I am now. And so hitting Success Club, figuring out kind of like what my brand is, like what is unique to me, like even though I have things in common with people on our team, that we are still not the same person. Like somebody could be following like multiple of us, and they get to choose which coach that they go to. So what is unique to me, like for me is I infuse my faith to every aspect of my life, especially my fitness journey. And that's actually like a big reason why I followed Paige too, because I love how she did that and fully lived that out. I'm a hot mess like 24/7, and I swear at least like every other day that's something that I talk about on my story. And then simplifying my actual job. Like when I sat down to work, like what am I doing? None of this, like I'm not somebody that loves to create graphics or any kind of that stuff. And if that's you, awesome, do it, because you'll find joy in doing that. But what do I need to do in order to sit down and get my job done? And how can I look forward to doing that when it comes to like convos and then storytelling within my social media. So I'm sure like a lot of you have heard that like our business, for the most part, for most of us, probably different for Megan and Paige, and I'm not sure who else, but that 90% of our time is focused on our own personal business and 10% is focused on our other coaches. And when we met with, some of us met in Kansas City and met with our corporate mentor, Mary, and she made a comment about how our new coaches within like 2-ish, 3-ish, maybe months are in that 90%. And I was like, oh, like that's so true, because if they're gonna see success right away, they're more likely to continue with this. I'm not saying that if you don't see it right away, they won't, but if we can help them be successful, the quicker the better, pretty much. So this is just kind of like an overview, and then I'll get into some of these things like in a second. But my initial welcome email, I have like honestly maybe an overwhelming amount of documents, but I want them to have so many things that they can be like, okay, I can go back and track this here, or okay, this is exactly how to get to Diamond. This is where I can find this on the team page. And so I have like probably 7 attachments on that initial welcome email, and I just don't hold back with that amount of information. But I let them know on our initial call, like, hey, you're going to get all this in our welcome email. Don't be overwhelmed by it. It's just there for you for whenever you need it. So you don't need to do all of these things like by tomorrow, but it's there for you just as a tool to help you. And then I have an initial one-on-one call with them, which again I'll talk about in a second. And then I'm in constant communication. Like that is probably the biggest thing. That and hyping them up are probably the biggest things and most important things. Like I am constantly talking to them, especially the ones that are finding success, because they are coming to me too. So if I don't hear from like one of my brand new coaches within like probably 2 days, unless it's the weekend, I text them and ask them like how their conversations are going or how they personally are going, especially if they just started with Beachbody and with coaching. That's a lot of new stuff, like a lot of new stuff. I mean, I started as a challenger, and then I was a coach like a week and a half later, but still I was at least somewhat familiar with Beachbody. So when people come in and it's completely new, that's a lot. So constantly communicating with them. And then I ask them a lot, and even like my coaches that are like a few months in or however long, like I try to ask them on a regular basis like what they need from me. And I think that's so important because it covers them as an individual coach, like because we cannot have this like cookie cutter way of going about all coaches because we're all different. But then also it helps me know like where they're at and what pace that they want to be running. And then you should be their biggest hype man, like on their stories, on their pictures, when they're frustrated, when they just hit emerald, whatever the heck it is, find it and celebrate it, because it just makes you like like, I can remember the first time I posted my story or my workout on my story, and Paige was like, hey, I love seeing you work out on here. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't realize that anybody was going to notice, but I didn't start doing that till like 2 months into my business, and it did make a big difference. So you are their biggest hype man. And so these are things that I go through whenever I have that initial one-on-one call. So just the impact of the vitals and like how amazing it is that we have these vital behaviors, and that literally our number one job is to take care of ourselves. And the importance of tracking, because it is so important. If anyone knows it, it's me for sure, because I didn't track for a long time in my business, and I noticed a huge difference when I did, because I was actually hitting the numbers of connections and invites and everything that I was doing. And then just the impact of this community, because it does take a little bit to like feel it. Like, you initially are like, whoa, like this is so cool, I'm a part of something so much bigger. But then when you get a team cup, or you get a success partner, or you're on those team calls, like, it just really talking about the importance of it and the impacts that it's made on you is so huge. I need a drink. And then the consistency in showing up, and kind of the same thing, showing up for team calls and all team events, but then on your social media. And I tell almost every single coach, and probably any of my coaches that are on here, they've heard me say it multiple times, but I was not showing up consistently on my social media when I started coaching. But the second that I decided to, my business completely changed. And so it's really funny, because I've found a lot of coaches that are super hesitant about posting on social media, and I'm like, well, same. And so just talking to them about the consistency of showing up for themselves and their business. And then we talk about Success Club and Success Starter. And with that, the simplicity and impact of hitting Emerald, because of a lot of us are like signing up people as discount coaches, which means if you hit Success Club in your first month, you're also hitting Emerald. And it is so simple to do, and the impact right now is huge. Like, I've had at least 2 months just in 2020 that I've gotten Success Club points from, because of like Shake Go or Challenge Pack or whatever, especially with all this craziness. So it's an even bigger impact right now for them to hit Emerald. And then I talk about goals. Like, so anytime that I have a call with them, or even like over a text, I ask them about their goals and kind of where they're at. And it's so cool to see how their goals shift. And I mean, I can even say that for myself. Like, for example, this time last year, I watched my first team call that Megan leaded, and she talked about vision, and she talked about income, and kind of like your vision, like pushing your income forward. And she's talking about diamond and all these things, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even have my first one-on-one call with Paige yet. Like, I just switched my account over and was added to the groups and stuff. And so I literally have my notebook over here that I started with, and it said hit diamond in 2020, and we're gonna go into 2-star qualification on Thursday. So like, it's nuts. And I know that I'm pretty sure Kelsey and Claire are on here, and they had the same thing as far as like their goals at first, like, were what they felt so huge, but then reassessing those goals. And it's just so exciting. And I tell them a lot, like, they're never too young or in the business, like, to start growing their team, to start thinking about your team and leading your team. Like, I say that a lot because I didn't start doing that until, like I said, probably beginning of December-ish. I had like 2 coaches under me that were so wishy-washy, and I was not thinking about actively adding to my team. And so I tell them that because also of our coach mentorship, they get to just like add people in that and learn with them. And heck, I mean, like, we're all still learning, so none of us are too young for that. But again, what do they need from me? I ask that question so much because I have found, well, obviously we're all different, and we all work differently, and our minds all work differently. And I have a couple coaches that are a lot more organized and put together than me, and they needed to know how I work, like what I do when I sit down and work. And I'm like, okay, duh, like obviously that would be helpful. And so that was one of the things that came out one of those conversations was I made this like super simple tracker, which I can totally share later, that on one side I track my connections for the week, and then the other side it's like literally so basic as far as action goes, and then there's weekly goals for personal and business. And so that has been a huge thing that has come from just asking that question. And something else I always try to at least say twice in my initial coach call is just anytime that you're feeling overwhelmed or you're frustrated, take a step back and remember, yes, why you're doing it, but also if you're doing the vital behaviors and you're showing up, like you are doing it right. So don't sweat it if you feel like you're in a funk or you are just not getting anyone to join you or whatever, because people have just started watching you. So and then I always try to schedule up a follow-up call within the next like week and a half, which is like crazy because we end up like talking consistently anyway. So, and then the last thing, which is for sure not the least, but instilling belief in them. And this can happen like multiple ways. Again, by just like hyping the heck out of their social media, but then also trying to just like relate to them in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I have totally been where you are, especially when they're frustrated, and almost just like combating that with like, okay, but look at these success stories, like look at all these frustrations. Like I say this to them a lot. Like there was one point I thought my sister was going to quit because she was doing literally everything I was telling her for like 2.5 weeks. And the only person she had signed up was one of her friends that lives with us and her fiance that she had paid for. So she was so frustrated, and I really thought she was going to throw her phone at me and quit. And so I tell that story to my new coaches because I'm like, if you're in that, you are one step closer to getting a yes. You are one step closer to hitting Success Club or Emerald or whatever it is. And so literally just hyping the crap out of them does so much. And then as far as the, like when I'm communicating with them, these are some things that I really like focus on, is helping them keep perspective. So again, why are they doing this? Are they also doing this like balanced with like the rest of whatever is going on with their life? I mean, I know right now is really weird, but I have like teachers and students and you might have like nurses or whoever, but like helping them keep perspective of like what we do and like the impact that we have, but also that like give yourself grace to take a break and give yourself time to take a break also from this job. And then helping them see success. And it's kind of like, well, duh. But actually, like, are they sending you conversations? Like, I know a hefty amount of the conversations that my new coaches are going on, and it's hilarious because then we have like names for these people because I don't know these people, like I don't know their names, so we end up calling them like Kool-Aid girl or shrimp girl, and like it's how we connected with them on Instagram, and that's literally just how we talk about them because whatever. But you should know a good amount of their conversations that are going on, because then you're not going to know them because they are going to be able to have those conversations on their own. Sure, they might ask you a couple like tips here and there because you get people that have weird responses or are angry or whatever, but their questions start to shift from those conversations to like, okay, well, like, how do I not like invite to coaching, and how do I coach somebody, or whatever it is. Those questions start to get they just start to shift, and they might become less, but they just start to shift a lot. Helping them handle frustrations. And I feel like this is huge because, again, we're all different, and we all handle those differently. And for me, I'm like, I try to not like stay in the frustration, but some people need to like yell it out, scream it out, whatever. But we also have to cover those in truth and success stories. So relating to them, like I have been there, or having them like talk to somebody who you know has a specific story, who has been there and seen success. So then like covering that in truth and success stories so that they know like, okay, I can get from where I'm at to where that person is and beyond. And also just reminding them where they start. So a lot of times I have them write it down on whatever, like notebook, planner, maybe put it as like the wallpaper on their phone, whatever. Just remembering why they started, and that can change. Like, I mean, it for sure has changed for me. And then just communicating about vitals and condos that they're having, and their posts. Like I said, social media was a big thing for me. Like I was on it but not active, and I didn't have any purpose with it. And so helping them with that. And then, like I mentioned before, what does it look like when I work? And I think it's so important for us to be able to translate that to them, like, and show them, okay, when I sit down, I do this. So like being able to send them a power hour or a way that they can track their connections and their invites and that kind of thing. And we've actually been like um, making a lot of power hours within Fit for More so that we have them as like this library of power hours and stuff, which I'm sure like we can totally share those. But that has been super helpful because they've been kind of specific. So like I did one on connecting, Lauren did one on following up, Paige did one on like inviting from coach posts. So just translating to them what it actually looks like when you sit down to work. And it could be different too for like the season of life that you're in versus that they're in. Like when I actually started like working this business, I literally was working 10 minutes at a time in my car, waiting to go in to prac from one volleyball practice to another. So helping them also fit it into their schedule and helping them manage their time, even if there's somebody that is like, okay, I'll figure it out, but okay, when are you going to actually sit down and like work this week, and holding them accountable for it. So yeah, like Megan said, super simple. I try not to like over complicate things because it just really doesn't do any good for any of us. And just something else I was going to mention in the beginning, and I can't believe I forgot, but something that has really shifted my business, I think, for me too, as far as like mindset goes this year, is praying over my team. Because last year I kind of like said I wanted to and said I was going to, but I didn't really necessarily do that. And that has changed so much because I've been able to pray over them as like individual people and like some of my closest friends, but then also just pray for like their growth in this business and just see like the impact that we've had. So yeah, fire away with questions or whatever.
That was so good. I literally, Shelby, please look. This old, you talked about your young coaches. I thought that was so funny because I always talk about them being newbies, but I like it more of like age of like young to old. This old dog,
Yeah.
a whole page of notes. Um, so I do have some questions. So maybe while you guys are thinking through some questions, how about I get us started and ask some? If you want to throw them in the chat, you're welcome to, or unmute. This is not like a scary place to ask questions. I'm a teacher, so I love, 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 love questions. You talked about okay, first of all, just like a praise, the constantly asking your coaches what they need from you. I thought was just gold. It's something that I don't do enough of. I maybe am like, so what's a success? Or what are you struggling with? But you saying like, what do you need from me? It like takes off that pressure of like, oh man, I have to admit that maybe things aren't going the way I want them to. And it's more of like, hey, could you help explain this? Because I think sometimes as women, we have a really hard time admitting we're struggling with something, but just saying like, oh, hey, could you help me? Could you explain this more? It kind of takes off that pressure, I guess. And so I thought that was really, really great. I know you threw out, and I'd imagine people are going to ask, but you talked about the impact of the vitals and tracking. What does this look like for you? And you don't have to like show like exactly if you don't have it right now, but kind of like, what's your simple version of how you track? Okay, first of all, what do you track? And then how do you track it?
I can pull it up. I track, okay, sorry, I cannot talk and find this at the same time. Okay. I track almost everything just because not because I'm necessarily organized by any means, but because I know that like if I sit down and say, okay, I want to do like 30 connections this week, or I mean today, I could like sit down and do like 15, like, oh, I'll finish later, and maybe I didn't even do 15. It just helps me with the number. But then, oh, whoops. Then,
Okay, so let me stop you. What is everything?
invites, follow-ups, and connections. So and by connections, I mean brand new connections. Like I found somebody's page, and I've swiped up on their story and like connected with, gotten in their inbox in some way, and then liked the most recent like 5 to 10 pictures. And I write that down. I actually stole this from you and changed it. You did like a June 100 last summer, and so I stole this. And this is how I do that. So I do at least 100 a week of those. And then I will highlight them if they follow me or if we have like a continuing conversation. I don't always immediately follow them back because I can get kind of overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, who are these people? And like how did I connect with them?
Okay, I'm going to stop you.
Mhm.
So what does this look like when it's all filled in? You put a name of a person. What do you put in these boxes?
Yes, so this is their name or like their handle if I wouldn't be able to like search them and find that. So that's what goes in this box. And then I know that I have some people who can write really small and really legibly, so they put their name and then they kind of put like maybe something about the conversation so they can remember or whatever it may be. Does that
Okay,
answer your question?
and then how do you connect? What's your stereotypical way of connecting with people?
So from like start to finish, I go to somebody like some bigger page. A lot of times it's like it might be like a worship leader, or I would say an author if you're a reader. I'm not a huge reader, but like Jordan Lee Dooley, I love her. Um, Anybody like that, maybe like a musician you follow or like a local coffee shop, whatever. Go to one of their pictures, go to the likes, and if anyone that has a story, I'm going to connect with them if I would do that if I followed them. I don't try to force anything because I'm like I want to actually make a genuine connection with them, and then I sometimes I'll comment on pictures if it would be like applicable, or if they don't have something on their story but like for some reason their page caught my eye, or I didn't swipe up on their story because I wouldn't normally or naturally do that. And then yeah, I like the most like recent other pictures, and then I get out of there. So I at first I will say if you feel like it's taking a lot of your time, keep doing it because it really like you'll get it down and you'll be able to crank out a whole bunch. But Instagram will kick you off if you do too many within a certain amount of time. So if that happens to you, that's not a bad thing, but just letting you know.
So you're connecting on something that has nothing to do with health, nothing to do with fitness, nothing to do with coaching. It's we literally have a real life connection of some
Mm-hmm.
kind of topic or something you posted about. I like that, so I'm going to make a connection, just to clarify, correct?
Yes. So it has nothing to do with what I do. So
Got it.
yeah. Hmm. And something that I found that's really helped in the last probably 2 or so weeks is that those people that have like followed me because of that, I make sure that I go back and connect with them because most likely they are watching my stories like those next couple of days. And so I go and look at who viewed my stories, with which side note, Instagram is now letting you view stories for like 48 hours, like, or not your own stories, but you can see who viewed your stories. Anyways, if you didn't know that, I just learned that like yesterday. So maybe that was like old news. But I lost my train of thought of what I was actually saying.
That's okay. I'm going to go back to this Connect 100 because you were saying that you highlight something. So what do you highlight?
I highlight if they followed me. I highlight if we had like a longer conversation, and then I probably followed them to hopefully like get them to follow my journey in a sense. But even if they don't, I don't necessarily like unfollow them right away, especially if I think that we would totally vibe. So I will continue to connect with them, and then maybe they'll follow me later.
Okay.
So that is the connecting side. And then this is just like what when I sat down and I was like, okay, these are things I do every day. I don't necessarily like check them off or anything like that. But for new coaches or people that do really like to check things off a list or whatever, I have like up here at the top 100 connections by. Normally I would like my goal to be Wednesday or Thursday, so that then I can kind of focus on like the beginning of our coach week, like Thursday and Friday, doing heavier invites, the number of follow-ups and invites that I want to do this week. And then down here at the bottom, I have like personal goal and then weekly goal, personal goal and business goal for the week. And then down here is normally where I will write invites and follow-ups. But I have some girls that are super, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. They're very, very organized, like to have more of a structure like for their day. And they just use the whole thing for like things that they want to do that day. So if that's you, like take this, make a copy of it and do it that way. But yeah, so this is the tracker that I came up with when
I love the to do and to share, like the emphasis on the fact that like what we do as our job is what you should be sharing in your stories. Like there's like this connection. It's not like, oh, I have to create content or I have to come up with ideas of what to post about. No, just post about what you're doing. Like share your day, like just document it as you go, and this is fun to see, because I was like looking, I was like, a meal, what does she need? Like she has to remind herself to eat a meal. And I was like, oh, she wants to share the fact that meal. I was like, do you really need to like have a reminder?
I don't have to remind myself to eat, don't worry.
I shouldn't joke about that because I'm helping women right now remember to eat because they skip meals. I'm like, huh.
I know.
Girl is not skipping any meals right now. Okay.
And I think something with like the workspace part is also like put on there what you're doing. This is something like Paige told us about. She was like that she wanted to do better, and I was like, oh, that's like so smart. It's so easy. Like, am I sitting down to like get to make my bod group or whatever? Not that people know what a bod group is, but like I'm sitting down to plan out my next group, or I'm sitting down to connect with people that are interested, or whatever it is. Like it's so simple. Like we can share with what we're doing, so people get a taste of that.
Yeah, I love that. And she's probably said this to your all's team before, but she's told me many times, like when she was wanting to coach or watching me thinking, do I want to do what she does? She said, your workspaces is what sold me. She's like, you were working on your back deck, you were going to Panera, you were working in your office. Like I was showing where I worked, and that was really attractive to her. And I was like, okay, well, I was just,
yes, yeah,
taking pictures in different places.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if there's any questions. Somebody said, can you make this available for us to use? Where do you have it? Is it like in a Google Doc or?
Okay. Yes, I can share the link, or I can send it to you, or whichever.
Yeah, we'll make sure that it's like a forced copy so people don't get your stuff. Okay, hold on. Okay, so Haley said, can you share more of your welcome email or what type of attachments you add? So maybe just like go through the list of what your attachments are, and then you can maybe, like we don't need to dive into them, but like what are the topics in those?
So in those I have a Paige like shared it with me whenever I signed up, but like a posting, not schedule, but just like ideas kind of. I have like these graphics of like how to like what it is to be emerald, what it is to be diamond, and then like a roadmap to diamond actually that like Paige made that you can like write in. I have what else? A vital behaviors graphic. I have, what else is on there? One that like talks about the importance of like inviting, in that on our team page is you can go to the files and go, there's a whole bunch of example invites and how to handle objections on there. Let's see. I think that might be it, but in my actual email, I just like really encourage them to reach out to me with any questions they have, like at any point, and that like literally if they feel like they're annoying me, then they're doing their job in that, because it's, I don't know, I find it refreshing even if they may be asking me a million questions, and sometimes it's going to feel like you're getting the exact same question a million times because you have like, I mean, Lord willing, you have like new coaches that you're continuing to add, so you're going to answer those questions a lot. But I mean, I would take that any day over somebody who like won't even talk to me or whatever and whatever. So yeah. Does that answer your question, Haley? I don't know where you're at, but okay.
Yeah, I might have you send me what you have, and so I can share it out when I share
Okay.
the recording to this. Yeah, I have a story about that. I think I saw Julie on here. Julie is like a total rock star new coach on my team, and she didn't message me one morning. She always does her work like before I even wake up, and I wake up early. And I like messaged her that afternoon. I was like, "You still alive? Haven't heard from you yet today. Like, what's going on?" But she's killing her business. So it's like I would rather her message me every single day before 5 a.m. asking questions than to never hear from her and be like, "So you're not going to do this, I guess." Cool. Like,
Right. Right. Exactly.
new coaches asking questions equals work. They're working, they're trying, they're.
Exactly. For sure. Especially once you've like talked and established goals and you're like, okay, well, you have these goals. Sorry, I'm also reading that question at the same time.
Yeah,
And I
go
can't
for it.
I don't follow every person, Lisa. I kind of started off that way, but then I realized that I was like so overwhelmed with like all these new followers on my feed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't remember any of these people. Like some of them didn't even follow me back because I would initially like follow them. So I only follow people if we had like a stronger connection, like a stronger conversation, or if like they followed me probably. But even sometimes like when they follow me, I don't automatically just follow them back. I do make sure that I continue to like connect with them through them like watching my stories, but I don't necessarily just automatically follow them that. So I would say that's kind of like up to you and like how you want to have your Instagram, I guess.
Okay, any other questions?
Shelby, opinion on number of followers, and go.
Opinion on number of followers?
Yeah, like how that affects your business. And
yeah, I mean, obviously if more people are following you, that's awesome. Like that's more people for you to be able to reach out to. But like by doing this connection, like when I started coaching, I wish I like had the actual number of followers, like because I think it was like maybe 600 or 700, and now I think it's like 1100, and it's literally from connecting. Like I would say it's probably 90% from connecting with people. And so take care of the followers that you have by showing them those things like on the tracker, but also by connecting with them. And I know for me, like when I started actually like using my Instagram for this, I kind of went through and like blocked some people that did not need to like watch me working out pretty much. I mean, but so like that's part is totally up to you. But as far as like number of the actual number, I do not think that it fully matters really. I mean, obviously you would like to be growing your following so that you're getting new people watching you. But if you're someone, especially if you just started, do not get caught up in the number for sure.
Preach, hands. You go and look at any other coach that's at my level of business that runs an organization the size that we have, and they have 10,000, 15,000 followers. You guys, I have around 3,000, which is whoa for the level of business that I've been able to build. But you know what? I have always been a quality over quantity person. I have always been a take care of who you have, exactly what Shelby just said. I may be consistent as hell, put out good stuff and people will come. You know, like I don't intentionally grow my following because I would rather be talking to girls or putting out good content or, you know, like praising the people that I have. And so I could do a whole team call about like, stop getting so caught up in that. But I agree. It does need to grow. It does need to grow. Like you do need new people that you're connecting with, but focus on putting good stuff out and them recommending you to other people rather than all of that. Sure. And I love the connections part. Like that's such a good thing. I'm like you said, you're naturally growing your following, but you're not doing it just to grow your following. You're doing it to connect with new women. Like the intention behind it is pure. And I think that is so much more meaningful than I'm going to connect with you so I can grow my following. No, connect with women so you can connect with women. Like
right, for sure. And they're going to feel that too, for sure. So, yes. And they'll trust you more.
I agree. Okay, what other questions?
I have a question about, like, I know that the Instagram business page is public, but what about like your Facebook page? Like mine is private right now. I mean, I have two. My fitness page is public, but I was going to start with my private page as being like my promoting page. Like, are your all's public or private?
You're talking about on Facebook, right?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. I have not started doing things on my Facebook with it, so I feel like maybe Megan, you can take this or somebody else. But I do know that my coaches that and I think Morgan's actually the one that told us this, you can make like an audience on your Facebook, so then only those people are like watching your stories, so then you could like make yours public, I guess, and then only the people on that list, it's kind of like close friends on Instagram, only those people would see your stories. So I guess that's up to you, or for Megan if you want to answer that too.
Okay, I didn't know you could do all that.
Yeah, I'm an open book. I think this business is the greatest thing ever. I think that what we provide is the greatest thing ever. I have nothing to hide. Half of my business comes from Facebook, half of it comes from Instagram. So if mine was private, half of my business would not exist. I think, Brandy, you and I connected on Facebook, you know, so it's one of those like, would we have ever connected if I kept my Facebook private? So you just have to kind of think about that also, is like, how did I find her? You know, like, would I be taking that away if I didn't have that? I do think Shelby is a little bit younger than me. And so not saying like us old dogs in our 30s, like can rock Facebook, but I really think us old dogs in our 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, maybe, we can really rock Facebook. So I don't want to like, there is a huge age range. We have a lot of really young coaches in their early 20s, mid to upper 20s. And then we have a bunch of coaches in their 30s, 40s, even 50s. And it is different. I think it's different. My coach Elena, like most of her business comes from Facebook, you know, and she's kind of, I think she's are you 35, Elena? I forget how old you are. You're just a little bit older than I am. So it's just kind of like there is an age range. So you do have to keep in mind, where are my people? Where are they hanging out? So that's just my little 2 cents.
I'm 35, so I better keep it open then.
I would keep it open. I would keep it open. I do like to go in the like birthdays, you know how like they have the birthday notification. I do like to go and get rid of dudes, because my Facebook is business to me. Like I don't need guys to be my Facebook friends. And so if there's like a guy that I went to high school with or middle school or whatever it is, I'm like, he doesn't need to see this. So I do unfriend dudes on my Facebook just because that's not how I use it. I see my social media probably way different than a lot of people do, but to me, it's my business. It's my store. So. delete people on their birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday. We're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
That's awful. This is the first time I feel old. What? I hope I didn't make anybody feel old. It's a good thing. I love that I'm 33. Let's do this.
You made me feel young.
Okay, any other questions? Brandy, that was a great question. By the way, Brandy is a brand new coach also. She just signed up in May, so I love that she was bold enough to ask a question on our team.
Hey, yo.
Yes.
I have a quick
Is
question.
probably my age.
Yes. Us older, seasoned women, we're pretty like, whatever, take me as I am. Okay, someone said they had a question, but I didn't catch who it was.
It's Kelly.
Okay.
I think my thing I struggle with is like new coaches. Well, one, do you have most of your coaches that are challengers first and then feeling like the business, or do you like sign them up and they're wanting to work the business day one, like they don't even know what Beachbody is and they jump in? Because I have never had luck with that. It's mostly people that have been doing it and see results. So just curious how what business looks like.
Yeah, I would say I have like a pretty good mix. My two coaches that have just hit diamond were both ones that like started with me last summer when I started, and then they were ones I just had to like kind of be patient on, that I was hoping that they would one day. And then and like really actually like my sister only started to like pay for her Energize, and so it's like, so if you can get them hooked on the products, I feel like that's a good thing. But then also like I have a couple that started literally like to make money, so I would say it's kind of both. And I think a big thing is in that conversation when you're having with them, like about the accountability group side of things, like the fitness side of things, kind of, especially if money is a hesitation for them, just talking to them about like, okay, well, would you want to do this as a side business? I can help you do that, and like really already instilling belief in them. And I think that's one thing that honestly Paige did for me, which she probably doesn't even know it, but like even before I signed up, she just like talked so much about like the possibility and the like the ability that we have here, and or opportunity that we have here. And so I totally think it like works both ways, and I don't think anyone has to necessarily pick one, if that makes sense. Does that answer kind of what your question?
Yeah. And then kind of going off of that too, I jotted down like when you're scheduling that one-on-one call, how do you like in terms of timing with the coach mentorship? Because I feel like like I remember when I joined Spirit and Spunk, I was like asking Meg, I was like, what the heck is Success Club? Like what's Emerald? Like what's all this? And it was just really overwhelming at first. Like, so it took me a while to like actually get a grasp on it. So like when you're having your one-on-one and you're talking these like Success Club, things like that, is that after they've gone through the coach mentorship or like within the coach, cause it's like, you don't want to, word vomit all this stuff. And then a lot of people, it's really get overwhelmed, especially like I have some girls that are hesitant because they've really never posted on social media. So I'm trying to make it, like you said, as simple as possible, simple lingo, layman's terms. So it's like, what in terms of like your timing of like how you have those calls and mentorships?
Yeah, I normally do it before the mentorship. Like as soon as, can you hear me? My internet says it's unstable.
Yeah.
Okay. I normally do that like pretty much as soon as they like sign up. If they're new, like brand spanking new to Beachbody, I kind of give them like into a program, like talk more about like that kind of thing, and really just like talk to them like, okay, your goal this month is helping 3 people. And then we kind of have like that initial call, and it really kind of depends on the person too, and how I feel like they're grasping what like we're talking about in a sense on that one-on-one call. And so if I don't cover with them like everything that was on that slide, then I try to do that like follow-up call a little bit sooner than I would if it was somebody that like was like really ready to go and gonna be inviting tomorrow or whatever it is. But it also kind of depends on like where we're at in our coach mentorship, because we do it every month, and it is the whole month. It's 4 weeks. So if there's someone that like signed up at the end or at the middle of one month, I might go ahead and add them to the mentorship and just kind of like tag them in all of our videos and stuff, and then have a call with them so that they have questions to like go off of whenever we meet. So I would say for sure kind of like feel them out, as far as like you said, you have some that are hesitant with like social media, and I would say the biggest thing for them is just encouraging them like just do it, because they're going to see so much success with that. And I really think that just stepping out of their comfort zone in that way is going to bring a lot of growth and confidence for them, like with their business. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. There's a little side conversation going on about age. I did not mean to bring up the age thing. What I meant to say was everybody has their space. There's people out there for everybody. Okay, any other questions? This has been so good, so fun. Hopefully you guys are getting lots and lots of resources and ideas. I think my favorite thing with team calls is taking something away. So Shelby has been working on this for a while. She did not come up with all that she has day one. You know, this took time. So the best thing to do from a team call is take one thing and implement it. Take one thing and put it in. You know, if you really connected with her tracker, go do that tracker. You connected with the connections, the 100 connections, go start that, commit to it and do it for a week, and then do it the next week. You know, so the whole thing is just one little takeaway.
I have a quick thing to mention about Shelby too, is she does things, like she created a lot of things that I didn't do, and it makes me really proud as her mentor. And it just reminds me yet again that as you start growing your team, it is not your responsibility to do all the things for your girls who want to grow the business. I have given Shelby the tools that she needs. And like she said, the biggest thing that she's learned from me and the biggest thing that I've learned from Megan is it's possible. And then we all do it how it works best for us, because Shelby needs to track her 100 things. I hate doing that, so I don't do it. So I didn't give her that. Like, she created that because it's what she needed. And she has taken full responsibility for her business. Like, that's what everybody has to do. Otherwise, you're not going to see success, because your business will not be the same exact as your upline's business. So that is Shelby's strength. She did not rely on me. She did this. I won't say she did it by herself. I mean, we have an amazing team and I'm always there for questions, but she didn't use me as an excuse because, oh, Paige doesn't do that, or she didn't teach me how to do that. No, she went out and she learned, and she teaches me, which is really incredible, especially because her 1 year was yesterday. I don't know if she said that. She's been a coach for a year. So super impressed.
Yeah. And I think that's important to remember, as far as like trying to not get discouraged if like your coaches aren't seeing success, or it's not like right away or whatever. Because at the end of the day, like, you can literally hand everything to them on a silver platter and everything that's like worked for you. But like Paige said, it's different for a lot of us, but also they have to take those tools. They have to do it. Like, I mean, it's just like any sport. Like, you can be taught the best plays or whatever, but it doesn't matter if you're not going to actually run them in the game. So
Killer analogy. I love that. What a great little like into it. Coach Shelb. Oh, I love it. So cool. Okay. I love this. Too much fun. Okay, thank you guys for hanging out. Put me in, Coach Kelly. You can't have Kelly. Kelly's mine, so don't even try to take her. She's already in the game and she is playing. She's killing it.
seriously. Oh gosh.
All right, you guys, I'm going to let us go. Shelby, thank you for pouring into us. Thank you for all the tips, plus just having us the reminder of praying over your team. I want to reiterate that. That is so huge, praying over your team, praying over the women that haven't been introduced to you in your life yet, because they're out there. Mm-hmm. Such great tips. So I will talk to you guys later, and have a good weekend. See ya.
Thank you.